There are moments in life when you ask yourself why God is processing you in a certain way, why He is taking you through paths you did not expect, or why you are experiencing situations that seem to have no explanation. And sometimes, without realizing it, God is preparing you not only to receive an answer, but to become the answer to someone else's prayer. Many times we believe that what we live is personal, but behind every process, there are intertwined lives, connected purposes, and prayers God listens to in silence. Nothing in your life is a coincidence. Every detail has a greater purpose. I want you to think about something for a moment. There are people right now praying for help, for strength, for a sign, for someone to arrive in their life at the right moment. And perhaps, without you imagining it, God is shaping you, cleansing you, and equipping you so that you may be the answer to that request. It is not because you are perfect. It is because He knows that within you there is something others need. God works in you so that one day you can be that instrument that transforms a heart, lifts someone who has fallen, or holds someone during their darkest hour. That is the greatness of His way of working. And before moving forward, I want to speak to you from the heart, in a close and personal way. This video is for you if you have ever felt that what you are living does not fit, that your processes make no sense, or that your life moves in unexpected directions. Many people live that same struggle, feel that same emptiness or that same burden, and they arrive here looking for a voice that reminds them that God has not left them. This space exists to accompany you, to support you, and to tell you that you are not facing all of this alone. Sometimes what we need most is a word that reminds us that we are still on the way, and that we are not broken, but under construction. I lovingly invite you to like this video, comment, and share it. By doing so, you allow YouTube to recommend this message to more people who, like you, need a place to connect with God. Perhaps someone going through a difficult moment will find this video thanks to your action. You will be a blessing to others with such a simple gesture. And so that we can build this environment of faith together, I want to invite you to comment a brief phrase that perfectly represents today's theme: God prepares me. Part 1. When God prepares you, even if you don't understand it. There are seasons in life when you feel that everything changes direction without you asking for it. Seasons when you wonder why God is allowing certain things to move, close, or even disappear. And although it may seem strange, many times that discomfort is the divine tool to shape you, because God never prepares someone from comfort. He prepares through movement, through changes, through whatever forces you to grow. What you call loss, God sometimes calls formation. What you call delay, God calls perfect timing. What you call confusion, God calls process. Nothing is slipping out of control. Everything is in the exact order of the purpose. One of the deepest reasons why God prepares you is because someone in the future, someone you do not know yet, someone who may be crying in their room right now, is praying for an answer. Maybe that person is asking for direction or comfort, or a word they don't know where it will come from. And God, who hears both stories, begins to work in you, so you will be part of what He will use to answer that prayer. But for that to happen, He first shapes you, polishes you, confronts you, and makes you grow in areas you didn't know you needed. That is how heaven operates. In the Bible, there is a clear pattern. God always prepares the chosen ones before placing them on the stage of purpose. He prepares before positioning. He molds before sending. He processes before using. We see this clearly in the life of Joseph. Before being governor of Egypt, before rescuing entire nations, before becoming the answer for a family that was about to die of hunger, God allowed him to go through hard seasons. And perhaps you remember that moment when his brothers sold him, leading him into a story full of injustice and silence. But every stage was training disguised as pain. When Joseph was in prison, it seemed like his story had ended. But God was forming a heart that knew how to interpret dreams, understand the pain of others, and guide lives. And it is impressive how that same Joseph, already shaped by the process, was able to say in Genesis chapter 50 verse 20 that what others intended for evil, God turned into good. That verse, written in letters, reveals a principle we often forget. The processes of God always look forward, never backward. He does not form you for what you were. He forms you for what is coming. And here is something deep. God is preparing you in ways you may not understand, because He is not only thinking about you, He is also thinking about the person or people who will one day receive your help, your word, your strength, your testimony, or your extended hand. When God prepares someone, He prepares them with others in mind. That is why the process is often hurt, because purpose is not only about you, it is about your impact. There are prayers connected to your story without you knowing it. There are people telling God, Lord, send someone who understands my pain, and God is raising your sensitivity through the experiences you go through. Others pray, Lord, send a word that lifts me up, and God is forming your character so you can speak with authority after defeating your own battles. Some ask, Lord, place someone in my path who reminds me that I still matter, and God is working in your heart so you can reflect His love. In other words, you are the answer to a prayer you haven't heard yet. An impressive example is Moses. Before guiding the people, before freeing enslaved families, before being the voice that would lead millions to freedom, God took him to the desert. And that desert was not a punishment. It was a divine school. In Exodus chapter 3, verse 1-2, it is written that Moses was tending sheep when God appeared to him in the burning bush. And there we understand something powerful. God prepares you in places that seem small to entrust you with big things. He polishes you in silent settings to use you in visible ones. Moses was being formed to be the answer to the desperate prayers of the people of Israel, prayers that may have been rising to heaven for decades. The same happens with you. There are situations you live that seem unfair or heavy, and you say, no, this makes no sense. But God allows them because He is raising within you something that others need. He teaches you patience because someone will need it from you. He teaches you gentleness because someone will find refuge in your peace. He teaches you to forgive because someone will need you to be a bridge of mercy. Nothing you live is accidental, and the most beautiful thing is that God never leaves a person in preparation forever. Every process has a purpose and a time. What is forming you today will position you tomorrow. What weighs on you today will be your authority tomorrow. What breaks you today will be your testimony tomorrow. And what you do not understand today will be the reason why someone receives hope through you tomorrow. That is how God works. He always transforms your pain into an answer for someone else. He always turns your wounds into medicine for another heart. That is why I want you to keep this in your spirit. If you are in a difficult season, if you feel God is moving pieces you do not understand, if you are being confronted, stretched, or shaped, maybe it is not only about you. Maybe God is preparing within you what another person has been asking Him for. Maybe you are being forged to become the person God will send as an answer. And when that moment comes, when you look back, you will understand that everything made sense. Part 2. God processes you to awaken capabilities you didn't know you had. There is something very important you must understand about God's preparation. When He shapes you, He does not only work on your character, He also awakens within you abilities, gifts, spiritual sensitivity, and capacities that were hidden. Many times we live as if our life were a limited version of what we were truly created to be. We act with fear, insecurity, and doubt, while inside we carry potential that has not yet been activated. God in His wisdom uses specific processes to awaken what was asleep within you. The Bible confirms that God knows what He has deposited in us even before birth. In Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5, God tells the prophet that before forming him in the womb, He had already known and set him apart. This means there are things you do not discover by yourself, but that God awakens at the perfect time. He knows what He placed inside you, and He knows when that deposit must begin to function to bless others. Many of those gifts remain asleep because we live lives where everything is under our control, and when everything is under our control, we do not grow. But when God allows changes, pressures, or challenges, that is when you begin to discover strength you didn't know you had, patience you didn't know you could hold, discernment you didn't know was in you. Processes do not come to destroy you, they come to activate your purpose. We see this clearly in the life of David. Before defeating Goliath, before becoming king, before being the answer to the prayer of an entire terrified nation, David was tending sheep in places where no one saw him. It seemed like an insignificant stage, but there he learned to defend, to care, to listen to God's voice, to face danger without an audience or recognition. In 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 34 to 36, David explains that he had killed lions and bears while caring for the flock. That part of his life was not an unimportant detail. God was awakening capacities that would later be essential to save Israel. His training in secret was his preparation for a public stage. It is the same with you. There are situations you lived far from the eyes of others, moments when you felt your life was on pause, seasons in which you wondered why you were there. But God used each of those experiences to train you. What you experienced in the hidden place was preparation for what will come in the visible. Sometimes God trains you in the small, so he can trust you with the big. Jesus confirmed this when he said in Luke chapter 16, verse 10, that whoever is faithful in the little will also be faithful in much. Faithfulness in your private processes determines authority in your public purpose. There are people who now see you strong, but they do not know how many times you cried before reaching this level. They see you mature, but they do not know how many nights you faced doubts in solitude. They see you stable, but they do not know how much it cost you to learn to trust God when everything seemed uncertain. That inner growth does not happen in a day. It happens when God allows stages that awaken what he placed inside you. And although you may not understand it now, each of those experiences prepares you to step into someone else's life as an answer. Let me give you a deeper example. How many times have you felt you are carrying things that overwhelm you? That is not a coincidence. God allows you to feel weight, so you develop spiritual endurance. Because one day someone will come to you looking for support, and you will have the strength that person needs. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 4, that God comforts us in our afflictions, so we may comfort others with the same comfort he gave us. That verse reveals a divine principle. God prepares you through your pain, so you can be relief in someone else's pain. And this part is important. Not everything you lived was an attack. Some things were formation. There are experiences that hurt you at the time, but now, with time, you realize they made you wiser. There were doors that closed, but they forced you to grow in areas you would never have developed if everything had remained easy. There were goodbyes that hurt, but now they brought you closer to the actual purpose. God, in his mercy, works even when you say, "No, this is too much for me," because he knows that tomorrow someone will need exactly what you are learning today. Look at this. When God calls someone, he does not call them from comfort, he calls them from preparation. Abraham was called to leave his land without knowing where he was going, as Hebrews chapter 11 verse 8 says. For what? To teach faith to generations that would come after him. Hannah, in the book of 1 Samuel, went through pain, tears, and waiting. But when she surrendered Samuel, she became the answer to a national need. Esther was prepared in silence in the palace, not just to be queen, but to save her people when the moment came. Every biblical story shows us that God shapes someone because they will one day be an answer for many. Now think about your story. Maybe the battles you had to face have made you stronger. Maybe the losses made you more empathetic. Maybe God's silences taught you humility. Maybe the seasons when you felt directionless awakened your dependence on him. Every piece of your life, even the ones that hurt you, has a purpose that will be revealed when the person for whom you are being prepared appears. This is the essence of this second part. God awakens dormant abilities within you through processes you don't always understand. But one day, you will discover that what seemed like a weight was actually a seed of purpose. Part 3. God teaches you to wait because the answer you will become requires maturity. There is a truth that, although painful, is essential for understanding God's purpose. He does not give you something your heart is not yet ready for. And in the same way, he does not send you as an answer into someone's life until the maturity you need has been formed within you. God's preparation is never rushed and never premature. God shapes slowly when the purpose is great. Waiting is, without a doubt, one of the deepest tools God uses in his children. And although many times you say, "No, I can't take this anymore," God is seeing something you cannot see. He is strengthening your spirit, aligning your character, teaching you to depend on him even on the days when heaven seems silent. Waiting is not abandonment. Waiting is internal construction. The Bible shows repeatedly that waiting is part of the process for those who will later become an answer for others. Abraham had to wait for the promise of a son, and that wait was so intense that it shaped his faith to extraordinary levels. In Romans chapter 4 verse 20, it says that Abraham grew strong in faith while waiting. This reveals a powerful secret. Waiting makes you mature, and that maturity will be necessary when God turns you into an answer for someone whose faith is weak. The same happened with Hannah in the book of 1 Samuel. She cried, prayed, insisted, and waited. Her heart needed time to align with God's plan, because the child she would give birth to would not be only hers. Samuel would become the answer to the spiritual need of a nation. God took her through a process of waiting because what was being born had a destiny greater than herself. The wait was not punishment, it was preparation. And if you stop and think about it, surely you too have lived waits that marked you. Moments when you felt ready, but God said wait. Moments when you saw opportunities close, only to watch them slip from your hands. Moments when you believed something would arrive soon, but no, it took longer than you imagined. And instead of destroying you, those seasons of waiting were strengthening your heart, softening your character, increasing your discernment, and teaching you to trust even without understanding. God uses waiting to kill human haste, because haste often damages what is not yet ready. Haste harms relationships. Haste ruins callings. Haste confuses decisions. That is why God, in His love, stops you when you want to run. And although you say, "No, I want it now," God responds with patience because He is forming someone who will be an answer, and a mature answer cannot be born from a hurried heart. Look at this detail. In Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31, it says that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. This is not spiritual poetry. It is a real principle. Waiting renews, haste exhausts. Waiting builds, haste breaks. Waiting deepens roots, haste leaves everything superficial. And if God is preparing you to impact someone's life, you need deep roots, inner strength, emotional stability, and spiritual maturity. Because someone will depend on the strength that you are developing today without realizing it. The Apostle Paul also had to wait. After encountering Jesus, he did not begin his ministry immediately. In Galatians chapter 1 verse 18, it says that years passed before he fully began his mission. Why did God allow that? Because that life which once persecuted Christians needed to be shaped, transformed, purified, and prepared. What he would carry into the world was so great that God could not entrust it to a heart that had not yet been processed. Waiting was part of his formation. Now look at your own story. How many times have you wanted to rush decisions, relationships, paths, or projects that were not ready yet? And by mercy, God stopped them. Sometimes you were frustrated, angry at yourself, saying, "No, everything is going wrong." But today you can see that God was protecting you from something you could not see. If he had said yes in that moment, you might have entered a season for which you did not yet have the strength needed. But he stopped you to protect and shape you. Waiting also reveals your heart. It shows whether you truly seek God or only seek the result. It shows whether you truly trust or whether you give up when things don't go your way. It shows whether you are ready or whether you need more time in God's presence. And that inner revelation is essential, because when God turns you into an answer, you will have to sustain what others cannot sustain on their own. Let me tell you something lovingly. God is forming within you the maturity you will need to be an instrument in his hands. The waiting you are living may be uncomfortable, but it is working inside your heart. It is not wasted time, it is fertile ground. And when the moment comes when God positions you as an answer in someone's life, the entire process will make sense. You will understand that if God had given you what you wanted before its time, you would not have had the strength to sustain it. The essence of this third part is this: God makes you wait, because what you are receiving is formation, and what you are forming is purpose. He matures your heart, so you can be an instrument of response at the perfect time. Nothing is delayed, nothing is out of place. Everything is aligning so that when that day comes, you will be exactly what someone has been praying for over a long time. Part 4. God allows you to go through battles so you can have spiritual authority. One of the strongest and at the same time most difficult truths to accept in the Christian life is that God allows you to face battles. Not because He wants to see you suffer, but because those battles develop in you an authority that, later on, someone who is praying for help will need. Spiritual authority is not obtained by reading, it is obtained by living. It is obtained by fighting, resisting, falling, and getting back up again and again. Only someone who has been through the fire can speak of the fire without fearing it. The Bible is full of examples where God allowed battles precisely to form that spiritual authority. Look at what Peter says in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 10. The God of all grace, after you have suffered a little while, will Himself restore you, confirm you, strengthen you, and establish you. That verse is a complete X-ray of God's process. The battle is not the end. The battle is the polisher. It perfects your character, affirms your identity, strengthens your spirit, and establishes you for what is coming. And when God prepares you to be the answer to someone else's prayer, He knows that person will not need someone weak. They will need someone tested, someone who can say, I was there where you are, I cried too, I doubted too, I felt like I could not go on, but God lifted me up. That kind of authority is not learned in a book. That kind of authority is born in the nights when you could not sleep, in the days when your strength ran out, in the moments when your only option was to say to the Lord, here I am, even if I don't understand, even if it hurts, even if everything seems uncertain. Job is the clearest example of how God uses battles to develop authority. Job was a man of integrity before his trial, but after going through that storm, he emerged with a spiritual depth he did not have before. In Job chapter 42 verse 5 he says that he had heard of God by hearing, but now his eyes had seen Him. That phrase written in letters says it all. There are things you only discover about God when you see Him work in the midst of pain. And what Job lived made him someone able to speak from a place few understand. That is how spiritual authority works. It is born where others do not want to be. This is also seen in the people of Israel. Before entering the promised land, they had to go through the desert. It was not a walk, it was a spiritual training ground. In Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 2, Moses reminded them that God made them walk in the desert to test them, humble them, and to know what was in their hearts. That process revealed who they truly were and strengthened their dependence on God. Why? Because upon reaching the promised land, they would need that spiritual authority to face giants, walls, and hostile nations. God trained them in the desert so they could sustain what He would give them. And it is the same with you. There are giants you have faced that no one knows about. There are walls you had to tear down with tears. There are nights where you battled thoughts that tried to destroy you. There are days where you got up without strength but still moved forward. And although those battles were not easy, they ended up forming within you an authority that tomorrow will be the voice someone needs to hear. God allowed you to go through that because the authority born from real experience is the one that has the power to lift others. Jesus Himself was led by the Spirit into the desert before beginning His ministry. In Matthew chapter 4 verses 1 through 11, it narrates how He faced temptations, hunger, spiritual pressure, and direct opposition from the enemy. Why did God allow that? Because Jesus would be the answer to the prayers of all humanity. He knew that this early battle prepared a ministry filled with authority. And if Jesus did not avoid the trial, neither will anyone who desires to walk with impact and purpose. Notice something important. What you call a battle, God calls training. What you call a wound, God calls authority. What you call chaos, God calls process. If you had never gone through those struggles, perhaps today you would not be able to understand the people God will place in your path. But now, after what you lived, you can look someone in the eyes and tell them with conviction, God will lift you up too. And that phrase, spoken from experience, carries a weight that transforms lives. Now think about this. Every battle you faced prepared you for a specific type of person. If you overcame a season of anxiety, you will be able to help someone trapped in it today. If you overcame deep depression, you will be a lighthouse for someone who feels consumed by darkness today. If you overcame betrayal, you will be able to restore someone who no longer trusts anyone. If you overcame scarcity, You will be able to advise someone who feels stuck with no way out. Your battles connect you to the battles of others. God never wastes pain. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 14 that God always leads us in triumph. This does not mean that you will never fight, but that every fight has victory built in when you walk with Him. And that victory is what gives you authority. Not the authority of someone who knows theory, but the authority of someone who knows what it costs to rise from the dust, wipe away tears, and keep believing. The essence of this part is this: God allows you to face battles not to destroy you, but to build within you a spiritual authority that will one day be refuge, guidance, and an answer for someone praying desperately. What you lived was not in vain. What you cried was not ignored. Each battle left in you a strength you did not know you were developing. And that strength will be necessary when God sends you as an answer into someone else's life. Part 5. God heals your inner life so you won't hurt those you are meant to bless. There is a stage in God's preparation that we often overlook, yet it is one of the most important. God works in your heart to heal inner wounds before sending you to touch the hearts of others. He knows that a broken heart without restoration can build walls, can hurt unintentionally, can speak from pain instead of grace. That is why, when God intends to use your life as an answer for someone else, He first enters the deepest places within you, opens rooms you kept closed for years, and leads you through a healing process that, although painful, is absolutely necessary. The Bible shows that God is interested in healing the heart before any sending. In Psalm chapter 147 verse 3, it says that He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. That verse perfectly summarizes what God does with you before positioning you. He heals what was bleeding inside. He deals with areas you were avoiding. He cures hidden emotions that could interfere with the purpose. Because an unhealed instrument wounds unintentionally, but a healed instrument heals intentionally. God does not want you to repeat harmful patterns. He does not want you to speak from bitterness. He does not want you to minister from unforgiveness. He does not want you to make decisions based on fear. He does not want your past to rule your present. And because He knows you will be the answer for someone who is asking for direction, comfort, or restoration, He decides to work in you first so your heart can be aligned with His. We see this clearly in the life of Peter. He was impulsive, emotional, reactive. And although he had an extraordinary calling, Jesus did not send him to shepherd lives until He first restored him. After denying Jesus, Peter carried guilt and shame. He was not emotionally ready to help anyone. Jesus knew this man needed an intimate conversation, a deep encounter that would restore him. And that is why, in John chapter 21, verses 15 through 17, Jesus asked him repeatedly if he loved him. It was not a test, it was surgery. Each question cut a root of guilt. Each answer opened a door to healing. Only after that did Jesus say, "Feed my sheep." First He healed the man, then He sent the minister. God does the same with you. He leads you to the point where you recognize wounds, fears, frustrations, and memories that are still active. And there, in that place no one sees, He begins His greatest work. He shows you why you react the way you do. He reveals why certain words hurt you so much. He teaches you why certain things trigger you emotionally. And He does not do it to expose you, but to restore you. Because when healing arrives, your character changes, your sensitivity becomes sharper, your love deepens, and your compassion becomes purer. Remember this: God never sends someone with open wounds to heal the wounds of others. He cleans first, then sends. He repairs first, then uses. He strengthens first, then positions. And although you sometimes say, "No, I'm already fine," God knows your truth better than you do. He knows where you are still afraid to trust. He knows which memories still hurt when you recall them. He knows which words marked you. He knows which situations left scars. That is why He insists on healing, because your future cannot be built on wounds that are still open. Look at what God did with Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. His story was full of deep wounds. But before reuniting with his brothers, God had already worked on his inner life. When he finally saw them, he did not respond with resentment. He wept, he embraced, he restored. And in Genesis chapter 45 verse 5, he told them not to be distressed because God had allowed everything to preserve life. That response can only come from a healed heart. Before using him to save an entire family, God made him free on the inside. The same happens with you. God is dealing with you because someone will need a wise, stable, and healed heart. If you have wounds related to rejection, he will heal you so you can accompany someone who feels they don't belong anywhere. If you have wounds related to abandonment, he will restore you so you can sustain someone who believes no one values them. If you have wounds from betrayal, he will cleanse you so you can counsel someone who is going through emotional or spiritual rupture. Your healed wounds will become someone else's medicine. Jesus made this clear in Luke chapter 4 verse 18 when he said he was sent to heal the brokenhearted. If our Lord came with a mission of restoration, how would he not restore you before sending you to restore others? His work in you always precedes his work through you. And here is a truth you must keep in your spirit. Inner healing makes you free to love without fear. When God heals you, you no longer act from defense. You no longer react from the wound. You no longer speak from resentment. You begin to speak from peace, from maturity, from compassion, and that kind of love transforms lives. God is teaching you to love with maturity because the person who will receive your impact will need love that is firm, stable, full of grace, and completely genuine. The essence of this fifth part is this: God heals your heart because what you will give tomorrow must come from a clean heart today. He is preparing you to bless without hurting, to speak without destroying, to accompany without projecting your old wounds. What he is healing now will become someone else's deliverance tomorrow. You are being restored to restore.